How exactly should we kick off a sales meeting? And when the prospect or client gets on the call, what exactly should we say? And how do we structure the rest of the meeting to make sure it's highly effective? Don't worry, guys, we're going to address all these questions right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Danilo Kaprick here, aka the best dressed man in tech sales. And in this video, what we're going to go through is how do we kick off a sales call and how do we structure a highly effective sales meeting to make sure that we can get the best result possible. All right. So in this video, we're going to walk through 4 specific components that you should have in every sales meeting to, again, make sure that it is highly effective and a good use of time. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, so point number 1 that we want to start with to have any effective sales meeting is personalized rapport, okay? Now, if you're wondering what the heck is personalized rapport, don't worry, I got you. Personalized rapport basically means that you are taking something that only could be said to them, right? And it wouldn't make sense if you were saying it to anybody else. For example, if I'm getting on a call and I notice that the person has just joined the company, right? Let's say it's between 0 and 6 months that they've been there. The question I'm gonna ask them is, hey, saw you recently joined the company. I'm curious, did you find them or did they find you? And what that usually does is it gets them talking about themselves, how they got the job, and it might even lead them to naturally talk about what they're working on, which we eventually want to get to later on in the call anyways, right? So there's a couple of other things you can do for personalized rapport. One of the easiest ones is, like I just mentioned, look at company tenure. How long have they been at the company? And based on that, ask them, right? If they've been at the company a long time, especially over 5 years, what I'll typically ask is, hey, especially these days, I hardly see people stay at a company for 5+ years. What's keeping you there, if you don't mind me asking? And that gets them to open up about what they love about the company, how they're excited about this project or that project. And again, just gets them talking about themselves. And best of all, guys, we don't have to sound like every other sales rep and talk about the weather, okay? So that's probably the best advantage of personalized rapport is you don't sound like everybody else and they're going to remember you because you put the spotlight on them, all right? The other things that we can do for personalized rapport is pretty much scan the internet. Specifically, you want to scan their LinkedIn profile and just see if there's anything personal about them that stands out to you. For example, I was recently looking at someone's LinkedIn and I saw it said that they were an avid mountain biker. So when I get on the call with them, I'm going to say, hey, did you make it on the bike this weekend, right? Are you going to do any trails or doing any biking in the next few months? Whatever it is. But ask them about their interests, find out what they're interested in, find out something about them, and bring that to the call for personalized rapport. All right, so that's the first thing, guys. Personalized rapport, that's how you should start every effective sales meeting. Don't forget it. All right, guys, so point number 2, once we got all the hee ha ha done with personalized rapport, what we want to do is open up about the purpose, okay? The purpose of the call should be a 1, maybe 2 sentence maximum statement about what you're there to really accomplish, okay? So in my discovery calls, and that's the other thing, guys, the purpose will always change depending on the type of the call it is, right? If it's a discovery call, maybe you'll have one purpose. If it's a regular client meeting, maybe completely different. But for discovery calls, in my case, what I typically say is, well, hey, I really appreciate you making the time to join. The purpose of today's meeting is really to understand what are the top outcomes that you're being asked to produce in the next 12 months, and is there any way that we can help you get those done faster or more effectively? That's my purpose, that's it. Quick 1 sentence, that's it, straight to the point, right? Now, once we've done the purpose, right, what we want to naturally funnel down to, and this is point number 3, you guys, is the agenda, okay? And the agenda is basically going to be what are the specific points that you want to hit in order to accomplish the purpose that you just stated, okay? So if the purpose of the call is to understand the outcomes that they're working on over the next 12 months, I might start with, I don't know, especially if it's the first time I'm speaking with them, a company overview. And I'm gonna say, hey, I did research on your company, wanna see if I understand how you guys produce revenue and what you guys exactly do. Next point I'll talk about is maybe a hypothesis that I have about the number 1 thing that they want to do, right? And that will naturally lead us to understand what is the outcome that they're being asked to produce, right? But the agenda is always going to vary, guys. You don't have to take what I just said, but essentially you should think about the purpose and say, what agenda points do we need to include in order to achieve said purpose? All right, so that's the thing there. The last thing I'll say about the agenda, guys, is once you read off the agenda to the prospect or the client, what you want to ask for is, hey, is there anything else that you want to add or make sure that we discuss today? Okay, and you want to do this because you want to give them a voice. You want to give them a choice. Everybody likes to have choices, and if they don't have a choice, it's almost like they're forced to be in this meeting and they have no say, right? So always ask, hey, is there anything that you want to make sure that we discuss or we add onto the agenda today? All right. All right, guys, so after we read through the agenda, this is typically where we're going to kick off the actual meat of the call and get into the body of the meeting. Now, I won't go through exactly what to do in the body because essentially what you're going to go through is the agenda points that you talked about, right? That's going to be the main portion of the call. But I will say this, if they were to give you some kind of suggestion on the agenda, or they said, hey, I really want to talk about this, this, and this, start with that. Okay, and you want to start with that because it's just the right thing to do. It's the customer obsessed thing to do. They are there giving you their time, right? So if there's something specific they want to get to, why not start with that, right? Why not just immediately address what they want to get, because they're going to get more value and they're going to notice that you actually care about what's important to them, right? It's not all about you, which any good sales meeting should be about the person more than about the sales rep, right? So anyways, that's what I'd recommend on the body. But either way, guys, what you want to do in the body of the call is address every agenda point so you can accomplish the purpose that you agreed to at the very start. All right, guys, so once you have addressed every single agenda point and you've done the body of the call, what you want to do is start to wrap up the meeting and look towards next steps, okay? And typically what I like to do is once you've gone through the agenda and you feel like you've discussed everything you needed to discuss, what you want to do is have a nice recap. Okay, so you want to recap the main points of the call, maybe the action items that you agreed to or that the other person asked you to take care of after the call, and make sure that you agree on what's important and what needs to be done after the fact, all right? All right, guys, now once you've done the recap, you're going to talk about next steps, and depending on the call, again, there might not be any next steps, maybe there are some next steps, but if you are suggesting next steps, there's one key thing I suggest you do when it comes to this part of the call, okay? Before you give your 2 cents on what next step should be, I highly recommend you say this. And what you want to say is, hey, prospect, whatever their name is, before I give you my 2 cents on what I think we should do next, I'm curious to know, what next steps do you feel like we should take based on our conversation today? And then zip it and wait for them to talk, all right? Get their understanding of what they think next steps should be, because what that's going to do is make them feel like there's no force, okay? Because unfortunately, what a lot of salespeople and sales leaders do to their sales reps is they try to push prospects into a process. Right? They had this discovery call and now they automatically think we should have a next step. We got to have a call next week. You got to talk to my engineer and we should do a POC. Hold on. Maybe they're not ready for all that. Maybe they're just on day 1 of this. Maybe they're just in the research phase. Maybe they're not even a good fit, right? So because of all these variables, it's really important to ask, hey, what do you think our next step should be? Because you don't want to blindly just push them into your process when we still are not sure if they are a really good fit, right? So for that reason, guys, I highly recommend you ask the prospect, hey, what do you feel like our next step should be before you give your opinion? And this might even be helpful for you because they might want to have another call. They might want to do something sooner than you had intended, right? So it's best to hear them out first. And then based on what they say, you can adjust what you're going to say accordingly, all right? So make sure before you give your 2 cents, you ask the prospect or the client, hey, what do you feel like our next step should be based on the conversation today? More importantly, it's also going to make them feel, again, important and prioritized because it's not all about you and what you think. You're genuinely considering their opinion. And again, that's going to make them feel good and generate a positive first impression for you. All right, guys, so there you have it. We just talked through how to have a highly effective sales meeting. We talked about how to kick it off with personalized rapport. We talked about how to state the purpose of the call, what to walk through in the agenda, as well as the body, and then the wrap up or next steps, right? So again, if you put all these things together, you should be able to have a very effective sales meeting where the prospect or client feels heard, they feel listened to, and more importantly, you were able to accomplish the purpose that you stated at the very beginning. So that's the video for today, guys. Hope you got some value out of this. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you're not doing so already, go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy now.